Okay, welcome to week 3. It is currently June 7th, 2025 at 7:29 p.m. I don't even know how to start this. Admittedly, right off the bat, you did do the artist date. That was fun. I did silly little makeup. I play with makeup and, just put on like a little outfit. Just being creative and like doing a makeup look I don't normally do. Well, to be fair, whenever I do go out, I only put on eyeliner and like brow. I do my brows and lip gloss. That's as far as I go. I did full face makeup, so that was fun. Uh, as for the morning pages, admittedly, I didn't do one properly again because my sleep schedule was a little bit fucked up. And oof, yeah. So this week was kind of ass. It really was. And it honestly, it ironically doesn't have to do much with the actual artist way week thing that I was doing. Right. I did 6 out of 10 of the weekly tasks that we had to do, of course. So I honestly think that I'm just gonna like say it straight up, right? I feel a little guilty. I'm disappointed that I understand like I'm doing everything that I need to do, but I feel like I've been failing on myself in when it comes to, I guess, doing the work that the book requires me to do properly. Uh, and I know it honestly doesn't make sense, and I'm fully aware of that. I just think this week has just brought up so many like conflicting emotions. I I already knew like as of last week that my life is very unbalanced in how like what things I prioritize my time with. And I knew I had to work on that. So I was intending to, give myself more time to be free and, just create, do things, I guess. Um, I'm fucking, I mean, I was, I've been single for a long time. Like, it's been like about like a little over a year now. Haven't been in a genuine relationship. And I got myself stuck in a little pickle. And I guess like I kind of started realizing, I guess issues from my childhood or from my past started reoccurring, and it was frustrating and it frightened me. So it wasn't until the end of um yesterday that I fully cut off most of like those issues, and I'm deciding to really invest more time into the artist way, which is ironic because I do know as well, for week 4, I believe there is a media detox. I haven't read it yet. It's just like from like what I've heard and what I've remembered from like the things that have been said about the artist way. So like either way, I feel like I'm not gonna fully isolate myself from these people that I'm like currently thinking of, but I just need to like I'm glad I don't want to say push them away, but I kind of just gave myself enough space to actually be alone with myself and not indulge in media or games or anything like that. So I feel like, it wasn't I wasn't necessarily cutting them off or just giving myself space with the intention like with, week 4's events in mind. I was just kind of fully intuitive response. But yeah, so I just like kind of had a lot of issues with I guess kind of giving too much time to other people, too much of my time to other people. And I like there was just like, admittedly, it was just a lot of drama within my relationships and how I was responding to them. I encountered several kinds of I don't want to say, like, I didn't go through anything that was necessarily painful, but I just come to realize that, like, I've been so used to, like, giving people so much of my time, listening to other people, and expecting for people to listen to me in return, and, that usually never happens. So, it was very, it's ironic because it brought back a lot of childhood issues that like I said, that I'd struggled with for like a very long time, of, giving my heart to someone quick and then being disappointed, yet still wanting to make something work when the other person is not reciprocating. It does get a little bit irritating. And I guess I was very quick to be able to recognize that I wasn't going to get that sort of connection from other people. And, well, there was 3 people, admittedly. One of them got upset because they noticed I was forming a connection with somebody else. I'm by no means, like, we were just friends, right? It's not like we had anything committed, and he wasn't really communicating his thoughts with me either. So, and he was kind of ditching on me, like we had set plans, and he would show up over an hour late and then apologize, saying, "Oh yeah, I was just doing this," and wouldn't tell me anything in advance, right? So it was frustrating. So of course an older version of me would have sat there and waited and kept those like feelings to myself, but now I've come to the point where I'm not going to wait for other people if they're not, very if they're not considerate with my time. So that's also like a new boundary that I guess I kind of set, that, if you're not going to respect my time and are considerate of my life and what I have like scheduled, then I'm just gonna not bother, being the same way with you, only I'm just gonna back away, right? I'm not going to interact with that or deal with that, because it shouldn't be my problem. I'm not gonna be waiting for someone who, doesn't really give a shit. So that's one of the things, like, that person, I cut it off, and they grew distant, and eventually they got, like, I don't want to say aggressive, but they were very passive aggressive. That's what I'm looking for. And they got back with their ex. So, like, I ended up befriending the ex, like, even before all this happened. So, I'm supportive. Like, if she's happy, so I'm completely fine with it, right? I just didn't appreciate how he went about the whole situation, and it just felt very petty. And it was like he responded insecurely over me forming a connection with somebody else when he wasn't putting any effort into whatever, like, he was trying to grow from this connection. And yeah, I'm proud of myself for, immediately letting it click and having some self-respect for, like, my time and stuff. And it's funny too, because he was also the reason why I had initially started being a little bit disappointed in how I was going about the artist way, because I realized I was taking a lot less time focusing on the actual contents of the book. And not to say that I wasn't digesting any of the information that I was reading, or not doing the tasks or the artist dates or the morning pages, right? Because I still am doing those things. That, to me, that's like a requirement regardless. It just felt like I was less engaged over these past 2 weeks, more so this week. And I clocked myself. I recognized that, and now, like, I'm I'm looking forward to week 4. But yeah, so the other two were kind of I don't know how to explain it. Um, they were very quick, I guess. I knew this. I knew the first guy since, it's been like, I'd say like about 7 months. Yeah, I've known this guy for the other guy for 7 months, and I knew of one of the guys, but I hadn't formally been introduced to him since last week. And I met the other guy, second one, or I guess technically the third one, the last guy, on that same night that I was formally introduced to guy number 2. So yeah, and just so happens that the third guy was very quick to show interest, and I was charmed by him. He was a very charming person, but he was not a very nice guy, and I recognized that as well pretty quickly. So although I was being entertained admittedly by the way he was very bold with his words, I was not going to really let that I guess sway me into wanting to have something more with him. And 2 days ago, I had told him, like, hey, this isn't like really what I'm looking for. And I turned him down, and for good reason. He was trying to come off as a loyal person who's dedicated and only interested in me, yet he's very player, right? And I guess like if you're open, that's completely fine, but that's not what I'm looking for. And not to like disrespect anyone who does come off that way. You live your life. As long as you're not hurting other people, I don't see an issue with it. But that's just not the type of person that I'm wanting. And after that conversation, he was very, I don't want to say persistent, but he still has an interest in me. He still wants to pursue me. He says he wants to grow. And, a person could say that, but I've learned to not necessarily. This is going to sound really fucked up, but I'm like, words don't speak as loud as actions. Actions are louder than words, whatever the fuck you want to say, right? You know the saying. So a part of me kind of believes it, but not to its entirety, I guess. It just doesn't. I don't know. Like, from what I have gathered from him, there is chemistry, but his behavior and the way he acts and the things that he says and does is very off-putting. So it's like, I'm not really sure. It's complicated. It's mixed. I'm choosing to stay friends with these people, but for the third guy, I made it abundantly clear that I am not, from his behavior and what he's shown me, I'm not really looking for any, he's not what I'm looking for when it comes to long-term relationships, and I don't do short-term. I don't date for fun. I'm not that kind of a person. And as for the second guy, he was very, I don't even want to say bold, but he kind of was in a certain way, but he was respectful, he was kind, considerate of other people, he was a charming person, right? And he seemed he just seemed mature, because he was mature, right? And I mean, he's like the guy that I'm fairly interested in, but from the very few interactions we've had, I just don't think that I don't think he's looking for anything long term. He hasn't, he's expressed interest, right? But the way he communicates is very closed off and a little bit confusing for me to understand, and I I prefer to be, told how it is. Like, I want someone to communicate with me efficiently, and he was not necessarily doing that. He's not open when it comes to how he feels, and I'm a very, I like to pry into those sorts of things. So I'm just waiting it out with him. I'm patient. I'm gonna be patient with him. I'm giving him time. Well, I'm technically giving the two guys time, but I just think like maybe he's not as he doesn't feel like it feels like he doesn't want to be as involved as guy number 3, right? So it's like, damn. And I'm not the type to want to wait around, as if I didn't make that abundantly clear with like the first guy that I had mentioned. But anyways, yeah, we're yapping into like different territory here, right? But essentially all this drama, like, it kind of, I don't want to say it healed me in a way, but it kind of was walking me through how, like, I was put in situations that normally I would respond very differently when I was younger. And I'm glad that I stood up for myself and that I'm making the choice to pull away from these people to an extent, right? I still see potential in them being friends. I'm only actively communicating with 2 of them. And, well, one of them just so happens to still be interested in me, but I've made a clear boundary that, hey, I'm not looking for like someone like you. I didn't say it like that. I'm just like kind of like saying like I'm you know what I mean, right? I've already told them what I'm looking for and that they don't really match that vision or that concept of a person, which I've already redefined. I like, I just think this week put a lot of like, it just kind of felt, I guess when it came to the artist way, it was not as correlated with like the actual issues that I was facing outside of it. So yeah, I made a lot of new connections though, but I'm not very trusting of other people either, admittedly. And I have a habit of, changing myself for other people. And I know in one of the tasks of for this week was to list 5 traits that I had as a child that I admired, and I feel as though I'm not necessarily those things anymore to in like a certain degree. I would have to like hold on. Let me look back. You're gonna hear noises, but ignore them, right? It was just like I guess obviously people change, that's normal, but I mean, I would like to go back to how yeah, okay. So one of the 5 traits that I wrote was outgoing, fearless, unapologetic, confident, and carefree. And yeah, and I think I mean, I guess I'm outgoing. I can be outgoing, or I could come off that way just to really fit the vibes. Like, I put on a lot of different hats in certain situations. I know myself to be as very introverted, awkward, a little shy, but I can, like, I love talking. I love communicating with people regardless. So, sometimes I could get overwhelmed under certain situations and, like, I guess, certain settings, right? But it's hard for me to really say I'm outgoing But I know as a kid, I was, I was very extroverted. I loved being around people. I loved helping people, talking, all those things. Fearless? Sorry, there was like a car alarm. I was like, what? Okay, sorry, that like threw me off. Fearless? I can be anxious sometimes, but I wouldn't say I'm completely not fearless. Uh, Unapologetic and carefree, I guess, are one of the most are the two most noticeable traits that I feel I'm not necessarily like anymore. I'm very considerate of other people, and I try not to be an asshole. you know, Unlike, I only ever respond in a certain way whenever it's called for. So I'm very cautious with how I respond and talk to people, and I would like to be less of that to a healthy degree. To a healthy degree, you know. And I think with the way I responded with like to some of these interactions and with these people, I could kind of feel that I'm slowly going back into that, right? I did like if I notice something that bothers me, or if someone acts a certain way that's kind of, that I don't think is all right, I'll give a little snap back if I have to, right? Not too much of like, not too disrespectful, but I usually say something that is completely reasonable and called for, right? I'd like to think I'm confident. That's like the fourth trait that I put on there. And we all have bad days. I could say something good about myself and I'll fully acknowledge and like agree to it. I'll own up to it. And then there's like days where I'm talking myself down, I'm disappointed in myself. Like it I think it's just a completely normal, natural thing, I would say. Let me close this. But yeah. So I'm really hoping for next week that to put a lot more emphasis on the artist way in my life, actively indulge in it, I guess, is like what I'm trying to say. I think, right? I have not spent a lot of time actually creating, I feel. I was overindulging in, I guess, like interacting with other people and finding joy in that when I know I need to be finding joy within myself at this moment. This is a healing experience, and I can't, always be surrounded by people. I need to have those quiet alone times, and I think I'm ready now to, like, entirely, I guess. Because I know I kind of felt it. I don't remember if I really said it or acknowledged it in last week's video, but yeah, that's just, I'm trying to see how long I've been. Oh, 23 minutes, my bad. But yeah, no, I just think, I don't know. Like, compared to last week, I like I said, I don't remember if I acknowledged it. It just felt like I was kind of slacking off. And I felt guilty about it. And it wasn't until this, like, the end of this week for me to really accept it and then do something about it. So I'm glad that I'm finally, I hope that I'm back on track. I've already told many of these people that I will not be as actively engaged with them as I used to be, and that I've told them that for week 4 because they're aware of this, and I've told them that for week 4 I'm gonna have a media detox. So like they already knew I was going on a hiatus, but I confirmed that I will most likely be gone for like a guarantee, at least, like, at the minimum a week, right? until that week is over. Then I would be back to whatever I would imagine. I don't think there's another media detox on week 5. I would hope not. Right? I'm already I'm excited about it, but at the same time I'm not, cuz I love consuming media. It's my favorite pastime. So yeah. And I was hoping to watch a movie for my artist date, but I guess I'll have to come up with something else. I'll figure it out. Right? So I'm honestly excited to see how next week goes and how the video will be. Our little check-in. I'm also hoping that I can, what's the word? Okay, yeah, I guess I just kind of hope that I can forgive myself for this little mess up. I don't want to think no, it wasn't a mess up. I want to give myself grace for letting the situation go as far as it did when it didn't really have to. For overindulging into something that isn't really as important as this journey. And I hope that I don't do it again. I won't do it again. I won't. And if I do, then I'm gonna need a stern talk. But I think that's all I can really say for today. Yeah, I think that's all. Well, either way, thank you for listening. Hope y'all have a great day. And I will see you next week. Bye bye.